Another burning issue is the issue of electricity supply, distribution, even generation in Nigeria. And we've stayed on this quite a bit from last week. So let's still stay on it today. And now we're having this conversation with the coordinating head of corporate services at Ibadan Electricity Distribution Company. Ms. Angela Olanrewaju joins us virtually from Ibadan. Ms. Olanrewaju, good afternoon and welcome to the program.
Thank you very much.
So it's good to have you on the program, especially discussing the issue of electricity. But help us to understand from a distributor's point of view, have we gotten better? I know that the NERCSO have come out to beat their chests and boast that we haven't had any grid collapse this year, 2025. But from your perspective as a DISCO, has the situation of electricity generation, supply, distribution, has it improved?
Oh yes, definitely it's improved, and I think that we're on the right path in the sector. We haven't had so much grid collapses, which has been a major issue that we normally have within the electricity value chain. So electricity has improved. We're not where we ought to be yet, but definitely we have improved. We have made some major landmark improvements.
But when we say it has improved, are there some steps that have been taken to lead to that improvement, or is it just coincidence? Because we may as well be holding our hearts in our hands that we could have a collapse anytime if nothing has been done.
No, lots of things have been done. Lots of things have been done. One of the major things that have improved that is that there's been a lot of investment right from generation. The government has been very committed. The Minister of Power has been very passionate about this sector. There have been a lot of MOUs and a lot of transactions that have happened to strengthen the network, starting from generation, right up to TTN and even to the distributors. TTN has been witnessing a major realignment and re-engineering. There's been a lot of investment on infrastructure. So it is not coincidental at all. You don't get improvements in the electricity sector by just holding your heart, like you said, but it's by intentional and deliberate and structural interventions. And that's what the government has been doing and has been following through. One of the major interventions that has helped this improvement is the hours of supply, which is what led to the Band A, which has stipulated that the distribution company must give certain hours of supply to your customers. So it's not been accidental or coincidental at all. There have been very intentional interventions from the federal government, from our regulators, and then also from the players within the value chain.
And when you say there's been investment and all of that, there's also the thought that the new law, the law that empowers states to generate, distribute, and all of that. For instance, in the state where you are, is that active? Has that contributed, or is yet to start?
So, well, the Electricity Reform Act, which is also empowering states to have regulatory oversight. That's part of the deliberate interventions. Your state, for example, where IBDC is our headquarters, yes, this has already started. While it has not fully taken off, what it has done to us as players in industry is that just put us on our toes because we realize it's not business as usual. So we're strengthening infrastructure, we're building capacity, we're focusing on customer care delivery because those are the places where we can make a differentiation. The reform what it's doing is that it is opening up the landscape. So it's not a monopoly, so to speak. We have to be on our best game to be competitive and to remain relevant. We're doing a lot of stakeholder management. Even the government, we are working with them. Your state, for example, we're working with them. We already have a working committee made up of all the stakeholders, and we meet regularly to ensure that oversight and the reforms work. So those are part of the things that have also helped in improvement we're seeing in the industry. So everybody sort of knows that it's not business as usual.
But help us to understand how this could work, the issue of states getting really involved. Do you still need the DISCO in there, or is it just other private sector? How could it work? Could you help us understand the picture?
So how it would work is that right now the sector is opened up. So other players can come in. So you can have other generators, you can have other distribution companies. So IBEDC now is going to be having competition within that sector. Right now, within our franchise area, we are the major distributor. We don't have that apart from the other generators, and power providers that we are already working with. But this means that that sector is open. You can have other companies coming in to generate electricity. They can also have their distribution customers. They can work with us. They can go straight. So our customers are getting a lot of options. Basically, that's what it means. And then the government, too, the state governments have more control. They are involved in this process. It becomes a way for them to also deliver on their electoral promises to their constituents, to the people. So customer service is going to be key. There's no hiding place literally for any disco. So for IBDC, we're making sure that we're doing a lot of network improvements. We're strategizing internally in terms of our network, which is key for us to be able to deliver that kind of supply that our customers want, quality and quantity. We are working on our network infrastructure.
So another thing of interest is the issue of metering. Now we have maps, and we've heard the federal government has rolled out some policies, to try to get meters to the people, which is supposed to accelerate power distribution. But recently, I met some individuals who said that their meters are expired, and then they've tried to replace them, and they were told meters are not available. Could you explain how a meter expires?
So a meter too has a life expectancy. So meters can become, for example, we have analog meters. We have meters that are 40 years old, much older than that. After 10 years, the life expectancy of the meter is compromised. So meters do expire like every other thing. But what's happening is that's part of the intervention that I talked about earlier, that the federal government at different levels has been very intentional about these interventions. Metering remains one of the strongest, biggest challenges within the sector. At IBDC, we are totally committed, because when the customer is metered, they have the power in their hands. They can control their consumption. You remove totally that, painful fact of estimated billing, which, customers are very, very unhappy about and uncomfortable. So metering gives the customers power. So what's happening with metering is that there are different interventions. There is one, for example, that is being supported by World Bank, this REP. That's the Distribution Sector Recovery Program being supported by World Bank, which is bringing, millions of meters into the country. Then we also have MAP, which is Meter Asset Fund. This is coming from the federal government directly and is being supervised by regulators, NEC. So that's how meters are coming in. Then we have MAP, Meter Asset Provider Scheme. This is something that's been around for almost 4 years now. But the new thing is that MAP has been sort of re-engineered. Hitherto, we used to have specific maps that the customers didn't have a choice. These are the map vendors you can work with. But now it's been liberalized. I want to use the word liberalized. So the customer has the right to pick any map of their choosing. And then the map supplies the meter. So those are the 3 or 4 million ways through which metering, and then we also have our own metering scheme, that we use to meter, especially where we have a lot of metering gap of rural areas of vulnerable customers. Our metering target annually is about, to get not less than 240,000 customers metered annually by our own direct scheme. And then, of course, this will definitely increase by the interventions we talked about. So metering remains a key factor to help stabilize the electricity industry. And we strongly urge our customers and we encourage them to get metered. And this process has become seamless, I will tell you the truth. Yes, like every process does have its hiccups sometimes, but I can tell you that at IBDC, we have a very seamless process. You have to apply online in our platform, msibdc.com. When you start the process, after completing all the process, 10 working days after that, you get metered. But this is barring some challenges that may happen, because sometimes customers may not really fully understand the process. So that's where you have some extension or
looks like there's a glitch there. I hope we can get Mr. Lariwaju back. She was just telling us how in IBEDC it's seamless, but I mean the same cannot be said for Ikeja Disco. I can say that. I've met a lot of people who currently do not have meters, and they have applied and tried to reach out, and they have not been able to get them. I mean, I think they've even been told, having gone to their office at Ikeja, that there's no meter available. And last week we had a meter manufacturer on our program here telling us that they have produced meters, and they have meters just lying fallow there. So where is the problem? Where is the connection, I wonder? Hi, Mr. Lariwaju, are you back?
Yes, I am.
Okay, all right, we lost you for a bit. Do you want to pick up your thoughts, or you want me to ask you a question?
Can you just repeat the question?
Okay, so you were talking about, the ease of accessing meters.
Yes. So I'll tell you that the metering process at the IBDC has become relatively seamless. I mean, we've automated the process, so it's actually applying online for customers, by our website, msms.ibdc.com. That's how the process starts. And then, of course, it has different processes, from technical verification, and then finally to when you can pay. And anytime where there are challenges within this, this process, it's because maybe some, part of it has been circumvented, or there's some requirements that it has been able to fulfill. So for existing customers, the process is relatively seamless. For new customers, for example, who go on that process, that's one of the places where we have challenges, because as a new customer, there are other processes that need to happen for you to be connected to us, and then you get metered. And it's even the next mandatory now for it to be metered. So the process is relatively seamless, and we're working more to make sure that it becomes even more easy and accessible for our customers.
Well, I mean, I'm happy you said that. Even though I don't have a transaction with you, because I was just, when we lost you for a bit, I was saying how I've met some people who've gone to Ikeja Disco, and they are ready to pay for the meters, but they are told there are no meters. And yet we had a manufacturer, meter manufacturer on our program, and he told us, well, they have produced meters that have been approved, but it does seem there's a gap between that production and getting it to the consumers. But I'd like for you to educate us a little bit more about this expiration of meters, because it does seem like a lot of consumers are not aware that their meters can expire. How long does it take? Where does the burden lie, for expired meter? If I buy my meter today, do I know when it was manufactured? Is there a date that shows the expiration so that I can prepare myself, for that period?
So actually, after 10 years, a meter is no longer regarded as fully functional. I mean, the quality has compromised, and we wouldn't put that burden on the customer. That's our job at GISCO. We have technical people that handle that. We advise that the customer should never tamper with their meters, because that's where energy theft happens. And if you get an electrician in a park to touch your meter, that meter is compromised. And the electricity laws right now around energy theft and issues like that is very stringent. So we advise customers not to touch those meters. It's not the place of the customer to know, that my meter is expired. That's our job. Our technical guys, they move around. And when we have customer engagements, we educate the customers on things like this. If your meter, for example, is not functioning normally, you are supposed to let us know through our different customer care platforms. Tell us, and we'll send our technician to look at those meters. But right now, there's also some metering issue that is a special set where we have meters that are analog meters. And right now, we're going on digital meters. The digital meters, are easier for us to monitor, are more efficient, because, as you know, very few analog things are happening. So it's actually basically the way you buy a mobile phone. After some time, you can see that mobile phone, the functionality is reducing. It is something is happening. So that tells you that, okay, look, it's about to change. So with technology and all that, Internet of Things and all that, those are the things that we're using to ensure. At our back end here, we have our AMI, infrastructure, which is giving us the report of this meter at the back end. So we know when the meter has been compromised or it is gradually losing its functionality. And we have a special plan for such meters. That's part of what we cater to for our meter rollout. We will replace those meters, especially for customers in the starting band, customers in the what's called in the rural areas where we know that they may not have the capacity to be able to change the meters or afford the meters. We have meters that we call non-STS meters. Okay, that's our industry lingo. And these are meters that you need to actually have a card, a physical card, to be able to buy energy. Is very inconvenient where we're talking about digitalization. The economy or the industry has gone very is highly automated. We don't want customers to come to our office with a physical card to buy. What we want is that you can sit in the convenience of your sitting room, your home, your office, anywhere to burn with energy, to burn for energy. So this kind of meters are priority for us to replace. And within bands like Band A customers, we encourage them, even before we get to you, please replace those meters so that it helps you to manage your consumption and you're sure of the integrity of your consumption and your supply.
All right. Just before we let you go, I would like to ask if, on the other side, the attitude of consumers towards bill payment, has that improved too? Because I know that has been a major part of a hurdle that you have to face as this goes.
So I would love to say that has improved significantly, but I also think that the economic challenges also making it a bit difficult. Yes, it does improve. There are still parts of our franchise where customers believe that electricity is a social service and they don't have to pay for it. There's energy theft where meters that are compromised, they are tampered with, there are customers that are using energy, they are not paying for it. But on the average, you also have customers that are very, customers that are very supportive of the digital. They understand the macroeconomic issues that are going on, and they realize that we need this revenue to move the business forward. The DISCO is the sort of collection agent for the whole value chain right now. So when we collect this money, when we get this revenue, the needed revenue, that's how the generation companies can keep in business. That's like you can pay for gas and all that. That's how TCN can provide all the infrastructure required, and that's how we too, at the distribution aid by the electricity distribution company, that's how we can pay our bills. That's how we can provide better service to our customers. So our appeal really is that customers should help us to provide better service, better quality, service energy regularly. Don't engage in energy theft, don't tamper with electrical infrastructure, protect the infrastructure within your neighborhood. We also have a lot of cases of vandalism. And every time infrastructure is vandalized, it means that the critical resources that will go to improving power supply, we need to use it to replace these materials that have been vandalized. So we appeal to our customers to work with us, to collaborate with us more, and to understand that the electricity sector in Nigeria is a work in progress. We see them as critical stakeholders. Without them, we won't be here. So our appeal is that they keep supporting us and that we are committed to doing better.
All right, a commitment and appeal there from the coordinating head corporate services at Ibadan Electricity Distribution Company, Ms. Angela Olanrewaju. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you very much, Amy. Grateful for the opportunity.